We thought we'd give you a update on the hurricane. We got lucky in Florida, very, very lucky indeed. We had actually, our original chart was that it was going to be hitting Florida directly. Maybe I could just see that, Kevin. It was going to be hitting directly, and that would have affected a lot of other states. But that was the original chart, and you see it was going to hit not only Florida but Georgia. It could have was going toward the Gulf. That was what was originally projected, and it took a right turn. And ultimately, hopefully, we're going to be lucky. It depends on what happens with South Carolina and North Carolina, but it's heading up the coast, and Florida was grazed, mostly wind, and we're going to have a report on that.
This is Trump with a National Hurricane Center map that was altered with a black Sharpie to extend the forecast of Hurricane Dorian toward Alabama, all so that he wouldn't have to admit that he was wrong. This comes in the aftermath of Trump claiming on numerous occasions that Dorian was, in fact, going to hit Alabama.
President Trump is doubling down on wrong information about the hurricane, despite being publicly corrected by the National Weather Service. It started when he tweeted on Sunday that Alabama would, quote, most likely be hit much harder than anticipated. The National Weather Service then tweeted, Alabama will not see any impacts from Dorian. We repeat, no impacts from Hurricane Dorian will be felt across Alabama. The system will remain too far east. Trump then went back to Twitter to claim that what he posted about Alabama was true, adding, quote, under certain original scenarios, it was in fact correct that Alabama could have received some hurt. Always good to be prepared.
Of course, Dorian was never going to hit Alabama, but because Trump has a proclivity toward exaggerating everything, because he thinks even the biggest storms make his legacy that much better, he pretended that it was. And look, I'm not saying that Trump himself altered the map, but I am saying that Trump loves to write on things in black marker, said himself that Alabama would be in the path of the hurricane, and really, really doesn't like being wrong. So. Also, not that this administration is in the least bit concerned about the law, but what Trump did was literally illegal. It's a violation of federal law to falsify a National Weather Service forecast and pass it off as official. He is physically incapable of not breaking the law. And while in this scenario it's more pathetic than anything else, the fact that arguably the most powerful person in the world is incapable of conceding to reality is monumentally dangerous and can impact real lives. And we see this every day. Even right now, the trade war with China is almost universally viewed as an unmitigated disaster, with the agricultural sector taking a massive hit, stock markets plummeting, and warnings of a recession now growing louder and louder. And yet, rather than admit fault, Trump has doubled down on his horrific strategy. We've heard him baselessly call migrants invaders on a constant basis, culminating to the point that a shooter drove to El Paso, Texas, and killed over 20 people, specifically invoking the word invasion in his manifesto. And yet still Trump refuses to tamp down his rhetoric, and the list goes on and on. What if, as the result of some errant synapse firing in his brain, he claims that American Muslims are all ISIS sympathizers? What if he says that he thinks Iran is going to nuke us? What if he says California is organizing a civilian uprising against the federal government? And sure, by any normal standards, these would be ridiculous, but so would the President of the United States trying to manifest the state of Alabama getting pummeled by a Category 5 hurricane, also that he wouldn't have to ever admit he was wrong. And so if Trump ever opted to double down on any of these claims, we could end up in the midst of a nuclear holocaust, all because of one man's delusional egomania. Trump subscribes to this archaic notion that ever admitting fault is a sign of weakness, but all he's doing is proving how unbelievably petty and stubborn and dumb he truly is. All it shows is that he would rather play pretend than admit the truth, even if the truth was right in front of our eyes. And clearly he's given up on reaching those who don't support him, but it is a testament to just how little he thinks of his base, that he can tell them 1 + 1 is 7 and thinks they would believe him. And that's largely because they would. It goes to show just how sad of a state the Republican Party is in, that its leader is a malignant narcissist and his fans are content to suspend reality to validate his delusions. And so while this time it was just a black Sharpie falsely extending the path of a deadly hurricane into a state that was never in any danger, who's to say what he zeroes in on next time won't be leagues worse? Because the danger of a man who's incapable of conceding to reality can't be overstated.